join us in prayer and pledge.
And bow your heads. We lift up our local leaders today. We pray for our mayors, city councils, county commissioners, police chiefs, sheriffs, judges, and all who serve our local communities. Strengthen them with wisdom and grace for the heavy burdens they carry. May they manage their teams and projects with love, keep their hearts pure, and their eyes turned towards towards your face as they work in the best interests of the people they are called to serve. We pray for the family and friends of Chad Finley, son of Randy and Donna Finley. May they find comfort and peace, and may Chad rest in peace. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Doug. We'll have our first call out to the public. A member of the public may address the board after receiving recognition from the chairperson and given his or her name. Public comment shall be limited to a period set aside at each meeting for such purpose. Each speaker shall have the floor for no longer than 5 minutes unless the board grants an extension. Board of Commissioner Rules of Procedures, Bylaws 5.13-3. We also ask you to be respectful. Anyone wish to address the board at this time? We do have another public comment at the end of the meeting. Name, please.
Matthew Bentley. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm not here today to speak about the $15.5 million Hillsdale County bond for a $100 million entity, but a parallel issue at the city level. It's parallel because in both cases, those elected to represent the people seem unable to hear the people. The issue at the city level is the transforming of Broad Street, M99, from Steenberg to City Hall. The people don't want it. The councilors do want it. The councilmen do want it. There is a public meeting tomorrow, Thursday the 12th, at 6 p.m. at City Hall in council chambers. Apparently, I say apparently, because there are considerable legal questions about the status of this meeting, and there are considerable legal questions about the entire process of this so-called roadmap. But regardless, the people are welcome. The people should be heard. They will be heard. And I hope to see a room full of drivers and citizens and voters and people to express their disagreement with the MDOT plan to remake the major artery into Hillsdale. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board at this time? Hearing none, we'll move along. I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Who moved and who?
I'll support it.
Okay, Brent. Okay, Brent and Brad. Okay. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The consent agenda is approved. Correspondence is listed. Any comments on correspondence at this point? Hearing no comments at this point, certainly can comment later on those items. Before we approve the regular agenda, I have a housekeeping item that items to be, and we've talked about this before, and Dave and I try and work on the agenda on Thursdays. Items need to be in by close of business on Thursday to be posted on Friday. That's something we've talked about several times. We need to try and adhere to that to the best of our ability. So we appreciate that, gentlemen. And with that said,
I have a comment.
you may.
Thank you. Understood that it's better to have the timeline that you just mentioned. However, sometimes government does not work as efficiently as being able to accomplish that goal. And it is a goal, not a standard. It's a goal. And sometimes those items that that through department heads and through the process that take a little bit longer to actually reach the clerk or the chair, if they're there on Monday, they're still timely by timeline for public notice to be presented in the agenda. And we don't want to necessarily preclude ourselves from that option because there are times when that will happen, I'm sure. And so that being said, that would be my comment. And in addition, there are times when there are Monday holidays. And on a Monday holiday, if we get our agenda on Friday, then we can't ask questions of department heads or other staff prior to this meeting on Tuesday. And so the timeline, is something that is fluid in some way, and that would be my comment as well. Thank you.
Well, I guess my only reply to that, is if we don't have order, we have chaos. So we need to have some sort of order.
So we'll see how the future goes with some of that.
Exactly. All right, with that said, I'd entertain a motion to approve the regular agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
Support.
Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Was right. I believe it passed. All right, moving right along at 9:09. Judge, you're up.
Thank you.
Good morning.
You are ahead of schedule.
Trying.
Look at you. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Wiley, as chairman of the board, and the entire board for allowing us to be on the docket today. I'm speaking to you about a really important issue that has been ongoing for a while now. In the probate court, which I don't know if you've all actually even been in there. At one time, your meetings were held, the board meetings were held in the probate courtroom. It was a multi-use room. It's still a multi-use room. But there's a problem with that room, and it's pretty significant. The ceilings are high. It's an old building. And we have recording equipment that does not work properly. When Dave saw me coming up the stairs, he was, did he leave? Where's Dave? Oh, I thought he was staying in here. I wanted him to be here. Hopefully he's watching. We've been dealing with this issue and dealing with this issue and dealing with this issue. And I don't know of any other way than to come to you. Mr. Collins, you have heard this before. I think maybe everybody else has heard it or some version of it. I'm appealing to you to do something and do something quickly. For anybody who is holding a hearing in that courtroom, I don't care whether it's the judge trying to hold a good hearing, the attorneys that are there, the families that are there, the parents of children who have perhaps been removed or are under the jurisdiction of the Department of Health and Human Services. All of these people are being affected by the inability to transcribe the hearings. If there is an appeal of any type, the law requires us to provide a complete transcript of the hearing. Now I'm going to take the example of a termination of parental rights, which is the worst thing that I have to do as the probate judge, acting as a family court judge. everybody, nobody wants to do that. We work really hard to get parents reunited so that they can safely parent their children. Sometimes that fails and we have to go to a hearing. I have had a hearing, it's been over a year ago, and this was brought to everyone's attention, that there was an appeal. I terminated parental rights. There was an appeal. The court recorders and the transcribers could not adequately transcribe the hearings. There were either inaudibles or indiscernibles, and I'm going to look to Amy Shankleton, who has been, and Kristen Shankleton, to kind of fill in those holes. And we're going to all do this as quickly as possible, so that we just get the information out to you and allow you to do what needs to be done. When they can't hear those, and there is in a transcript those words inaudible or indiscernible, it is not good. And what happened in that case is there were several of them. And it's a combination of the recording equipment not picking up, Zoom, microphones, high ceilings, all coming together, I think, and creating this perfect storm of inability to properly transcribe. They actually have to type in the courtroom, my recorder types every single word that's said that she can hear. Unfortunately, when we can't hear ourselves in the courtroom, we know there's going to be a problem, and we're trying to correct it right then. Sometimes it sounds like it's okay coming through their headphones. It sounds like it's recording right, and it's only until we get the appeal and the people who transcribe are trying to transcribe, they're like, oh my God, I cannot discern what is here. And it's over and over and over again in some of these transcripts. What happened in that termination is the Court of Appeals said, you are denying them their constitutional right. We do not have and have not been provided a good transcript. We don't know what happened. Guess what? Probate court in Hillsdale County, or family court, more properly, you're going to repeat that termination trial. Do you know how awful that would be for the parents, for the judge, for the attorneys, for everybody touched by that? It's to the point where we are getting cited in new Court of Appeals cases that they do not have good recording equipment, and it always, the transcribers can't transcribe the hearing appropriately. We have to do something about it now. Time is of the essence. Judge Syverson had to cover a hearing for me, and again, it was a termination of parental rights hearing. That hearing took 4 days, thousands of pages. I'm not kidding you, it will be thousands of pages. I already know, before it's been completed, that there are indiscernibles in there. We're concerned about that. They're trying to clean up everything they can. Hopefully we'll be able to get a good record to them. That is not something that you want to have repeated. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to me as a court, and it should be embarrassing to you as commissioners that we are not able to do this. I am imploring you to put whatever resources are necessary to Dave into the building. We all know we spent millions on it the outside of our building, and it looks beautiful. We need to put that same sort of commitment toward doing whatever is necessary to correct the probate courtroom. They don't appear to have the same problems in the other courtrooms. And we actually tried to use the same equipment. You guys have all heard this too. We're supposed to all get the exact same equipment. We don't have it. I just thought we were getting a new recorder recently, and we find out we had what we ended up with really was a refurbished one. Please provide the resources, the time, the money, the effort, whatever, to correct the problems, so I don't have to come back here again, and so that nobody ever has to say, no, you've denied somebody their constitutional rights, you're going to repeat this because the record was poor. I'm going to ask you to come off. She is the CEO, owner, operator, do-all for Modern Court Reporting. Modern Court Reporting is who Chief Judge Lisney has indicated she wants us to use whenever possible. And so Ms. Shankleton, if you can share your frustrations, I would appreciate it.
I've been certified. In order to file transcripts in any state court that's accepted, you have to be certified. You pass a test and do all those things. I've been certified since 1978. I started my business in 1988 to serve the courts. Presently, we type for between 10 and 12 counties in the state of Michigan. Hillsdale and Washtenaw County are my favorites. And I will tell you, they have wonderful staff. They are very attentive to what we need as far as questions, issues that we have. They always answer, so they're my favorites. But I am speaking today to you on behalf of your constituents, because the case that we're working on right now is 2,000 pages. By statute, I have to file those transcripts in 42 days. That's 6 weeks. And we have 6 people that transcribe, and Kristen and I, that makes eight of us that transcribe. My transcriber has gone over this case 2 times. She typed it and she's proofed it 2 times, and it's still full of indiscernibles. I am proofing it. The thing is, I had to beg the Court of Appeals to please give me an extension because the recordings, because these are people's lives. These are children who are being affected for the rest of their lives. These are your friends, your neighbors, family. You look around your community. These are people who are being affected, and if I can't hear if the witness is saying did or didn't, or if the judge is saying you're serving 15 years or 50 years. It makes a huge difference. Some of these, from Hillsdale, I kind of figured out, we type between 9,000 and 10,000 pages from Hillsdale. Probably at least a third of those are from the probate courtroom. And I can't tell you how distraught we get that we can't do a good record. We live and breathe this stuff. A judge does too. And when I can't hear something, it's agonizing. And to think that these children are being taken away possibly from their parents, or there are other situations that are very traumatic to families, that I can't give them their true justice that they deserve. According to our Constitution, you all know this stuff, people are, it's our right as people, as citizens, as your constituents, to have the best possible thing, and we agonize over these things. And I really would appreciate if you could do something to help in the courtroom of Judge Bianchi. She and our staff work so hard, and then to not be able to type and give your people a good, accurate, full transcript is just very disturbing. And when I have to sign my name on those transcripts and submit them, I hate to say that's my best guess. I want to know that it's correct. I teach workshops, I teach people, I mentor a lot of, probably almost 30 people in these last few years, and I know my 5 minutes is probably about up. But and it's unusual for us to be on this side of the microphone. Usually we're recording, but I look at this and think, oh, I've seen that before. But if you all would please listen to your judge. These are very serious things. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to be available to whatever you need to. I'm happy to. We're an open book here. If there's anything that, in fact, I'm hoping to get to go over and look at the courtroom when we're done.
Ms. Shankleton, we will get to go to the courtroom when we're done. I can see Dave holding behind me. He's the RIT. He's breathing like red fire, breathing red fire.
You're not kidding.
Well, I hope you've heard it with open ears, Dave, because I'm at my wit's end. We can't do this anymore. And I'm actually here to help, to get you help, so that you can take care of it. I don't care what the resources are that need to be garnered for you. It needs to be provided to you. Time, talent, money, whatever you need, it has to be provided, because this has been a nightmare problem that we have not been able to fix. While you're there, do you have a guess about microphones or anything else that you think might be the problem? Podium? I think I heard something about podium.
Well, sometimes when we have Zoom recordings and people are appearing, we have one guy who was in jail in Ohio, and he appeared for his termination case. When the Zoom hearings are on, it kind of, what's the word, Kristen? It kind of overrides the podium and the tables, and I can't hear them talking. I can hear the Zoom guy. See, all you gentlemen have mics at each, and so in the courtroom, envision that. Well, each one of those has a channel that comes in to Jessica's recording, and I can hone in on each of those. But when I have 200 pages to get out that day, I can't sit and switch back and forth between those. I should be able to hear that all together and hear it accurately and not have to say, oh, what she's saying, and strain. And over the years, as technology, we just pitched 20-year-old audio cassette tapes, and floppy disks and all those things. And so we have this digital capability, but if I can't hear, and like the judge said, we had to redo this trial for a 2,000-page transcript. You're talking, at that time, probably $6,000 or $8,000, I'm guessing, depending on how many people were involved, just to redo the trial. That's the second time the transcripts are done. I mean, that kind of money could have been spent to improve your courtroom. Some of the courtrooms that we are in I can see that there are panels that are up on the wall that absorb their soundproofing panels, kind of that keep that. So you guys have carpet in here and some nice curtains, but when you have a courtroom that is all wood and this sound bounces all over the place, we hear it's just, you just cannot clarify what people are saying, and it's very important, especially you have someone who is so distraught on the witness stand that they're sobbing and crying, and I just can't hear them. Of course, I would never say they're sobbing and crying, but you can tell. So, anyways, these are your friends, your constituents, your neighbors, and people in your whole Hillsdale County. We had a wonderful drive over here from Saline, and it's beautiful here. And we do our best, but I can only do what you guys give us to do. And I so applaud the judge for coming up, and I imagine she's got a courtroom full of people who are wanting to know when she's going to come back. So if you have any questions, I'm free. Yes, sir.
So you're transcribing for all three courts?
Yes.
And the only one you're having trouble with is the probate courtroom?
That seems to be the problem. Now, sometimes in the circuit court we have issues with the Zoom coming in also. Kristen, may want to...
I was just gonna, my name is Kristen Shankleton. I work obviously with my mom.
We're related.
I've been doing this basically my whole life, but to answer a question about the microphones and the podium, I can think of two things. It's been our experience in the past that these big companies, JAVS, JIS, BIS, will come in and say, oh, this microphone here, it's going to pick all the way up. You can hear all the way. Well, just because you can hear something doesn't mean it's transcribable. So I would make sure every place there's a speaker needs to have a microphone. I've also experienced it looks like maybe there's a microphone being shared at the podium and the council table. I would suggest getting rid of any mics where they have the control to turn it off, because I typed a trial of years where they just kept turning it off because, for attorney-client privilege, they'll turn the thing off, talk to their client, forget to turn it back on because, they're trying to do their job. They're not thinking of these technical aspects. So if they need to have attorney-client privilege, I would get a microphone where they can press and hold and mute. That way it's never going to shut off. But that was a big thing. And then just, making sure people come up from the back of the courtroom, because we always say everything that you have to say is very important. It needs to be on the record. If a dad is giving his reasons for why he wants his kid and he's in the back of the courtroom, just because there's a mic hanging from the ceiling doesn't mean I'm going to get every word of his important statement. So that was just what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
I should say that I had the privilege of meeting your referee Dixon, and I've typed some of his things. Wonderful. He said, well, those, and the judge had said, well, those are in the basement. I said, well, keep them in the basement. Because I hate to say, I'm sorry, but they are actually very good. And I don't know what the difference is, if the equipment is different or what, but...
It's a room this big.
Oh, well.
Or smaller.
I don't know.
But anyways, do you have any other
questions for the judge? Or Dave, your turn.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
I would ask for requests to go.
Okay, you may, Tim.
All right, thank you.
Then I'm sure we've got some questions of David.
So, as you know, I'm the juvenile court referee. I I want to tell you about one experience I had 2 weeks ago. From time to time, I do hearings in the probate courtroom. When it's time to do orders that require findings, I review those recordings to make sure my findings are accurate and I'm not misstating anything. 2 of those recordings from the prior Thursday, the only 2 I had to do findings from that day, I had to listen to those recordings multiple times to try to pick up what was being said. And when I say multiple times, I've listened to those anywhere from 2 to 6 times to try to understand what was being said in those recordings. That's an immense waste of time and resources, just the time consumed to do that. It's something that should have taken me an hour, it took 3 to 4 hours to get those done. I have looked into fabric panels. They can be put on the ceiling of the courtroom, blend into the paint color. They can be painted or just fabric that doesn't get painted. They're give or take around $5,000. That would take care of the echoing in the room from what the sound recording panel seller told me. He explained how the sound works, and at any rate, those panels would absorb the sound, and they're easy to install. Easy for a lot of people. The other thing I want to talk about, those microphones on that table pick up sound from everybody sitting at the table. With the current mics that are in that courtroom, you have to physically move that mic to have that sound picked up, and even then, it's hard for Ms. Castile to hear those voices. And in the midst of a court hearing, it's annoying actually to have to stop the recording, have the people move the mic, and then repeat what they just said. In the past, I don't recall hearing things about recording problems, so it has to be a combination of sound reverberating and the microphone that we currently have. The cost of doing nothing, if they have to repeat a 4-day trial, that trial has attorneys in it that are not contracted. We're paying them by the hour for 6-8 hours a day for 4 days. That adds up. Then you have the transcript cost. The state court administrative office or the legislator or both increase the cost of transcribing to nearly $4 a page. I can't tell you the exact amount, but Amy could. When you're talking $4 a page times 2,000 pages, that's $8,000. I think it's a little bit under that, but that's $8,000. You go beyond that, and we have transcribers that are extremely frustrated with this recording system, and we've had transcribers refuse to do our transcribing, but we have to provide those to the Court of Appeals. We have no choice. And then you add the current rules of the Court of Appeals or the Supreme State Court Administrative Office that require transcribers or transcriptions from the very first hearing all the way through to a termination trial. You're compounding the issue multiple times. The $5,000 in fixing the mics so they'll pick up at the table, that would probably solve the problem. I'm not an expert at this. I'm a lawyer. But at any rate, I can tell you that it wasn't a problem with the drop ceilings, but the ceiling looks considerably nicer now than it did when it was a drop ceiling. But the sound absorbing panels should solve the problem according to the sound panel seller. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
I'd just like to, I'm sorry, I would just like to make a correction on one thing. So,
Go ahead, Kim.
All right.
Podium, please.
Okay. Kim Berger. I actually represent DHHS, so not care about anything I normally do. Normally, everybody can hear me. That's not ever been an issue ever in my life. But they can't pick up, not lying, they can't pick me up when I'm doing the recording. So this is moving around. So if they can't pick me up and I'm sitting, you know, this close to the microphone, then we have problems. But since I started about 2.5 years ago, every appeal that's come down, the same issue has stated. We cannot hear it. So we're going to backtrack and make you do them again. So, or this other fact. I know they're very frustrated. I've been dealing with them and with the reporters, and they're telling me, you know, we're almost to the point where we don't want to do this anymore with you guys. This trial that they talked about that we just did was 4 days. But it was not 6 to 8 hours. We were there 10 to 12 hours a day. for 4 days to get this done. And so it is going to the Court of Appeals. If it comes back, we're doing it again. So our equipment is going to be the same, because if it turns out the same way, she's going to appeal again. And so we're just kind of getting into this infinite loop. But we were actually, as Judge Bianchi said, in a case I just got appealed, we were cited saying, we already know their equipment sucks. So, let's do this again. Why, to the detriment of my client, to father in this case, we need to do this again because their equipment sucks so bad we can't record. So we are spending a lot of money to redo things that shouldn't have to be redone in some way. And I don't know that it's anybody's fault. It's just, I think, a combination of everything, like Judge Bianchi said.
Okay, thank you, Kim. David?
I got some questions for the judge first, before we get to David, if you would.
That'd be fine.
Yes, sir.
So have you raised these concerns with the IT department?
Yes.
When?
Many times. They know that there's a problem. Jessica, you could probably address it more than I could. We've got emails back and forth about problems. And this is, Brent, this is not new. When we had to repeat that's well over a year ago. And then since then, we'll call and say, we're having problems, we're having problems, we're having problems.
When did we last upgrade the recording system in the probate court?
A month or so ago, we were supposed to have, maybe 2 months ago. Time flies now that I'm older. We were supposed to be getting a new, my understanding is we were supposed to be getting a new system, the recording unit. And I thought it was a brand new one. And we later found out in the course of the conversations, I think, Scott, it was actually a refurbished one. I don't know if it's that. Maybe the refurbished one's just as good. All I know, we're not IT experts, is that it's not being taken care of. It's not being taken care of.
Didn't we do something additional back during 22 on that?
Yes.
What did we do?
I don't know. I'm not an IT person. All I can tell you is it doesn't work, and the Court of Appeals is telling me it doesn't work. The recording company who's done this for years and years and years is saying it doesn't work. And so I'm here saying, yes, we call. We ask them to come and help us. I feel sorry for them. They're doing what they can. But it's not working. I've heard a lot about BIS, and I guess BIS is the company that we contract with. My question is, do we need a different company to contract with? I don't know. Is it just that we need all individual microphones every place? And there's something wrong with Zoom, too. Because Zoom seems to be, and I'm getting heads nodding. I'm not listening to these recordings all the time. They are. So all I know, Mr. Leinecker, is that whatever it is, it needs to be corrected, and whatever it takes, it needs to be corrected. For them to say how frustrating it is to them, it's frustrating to us too, and it's frustrating to Dave. He's trying to get this taken care of. It's frustrating to all of us.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. I think we need to hear from you, Dave. I'm not sure what, but
I don't think you want me.
I do have a couple of questions for you.
Go ahead.
So what did we do back in, and again, I think it was 2022 when we approved some funding to upgrade the recording system.
$15,000.
And what did that $15,000 get us then?
They replaced everything except the PC.
What for microphones do they have over there? Do they have the same type of microphones we have here, or are they?
They used to have those, and it was picking up the hum of the air conditioning, so we went to the single stems.
Okay, so more a directional mic where you've got to be speaking directly into it to make sure that it picks you up.
We were working on the assumption that the lawyers were doing the talking, not the whole room.
Yeah.
I'm going to be very careful.
Yeah.
Because this needs to be dealt with not in a public forum, number one. Number two, this is the first I'm hearing of it in the last 60 days. Number three, I will be pulling the emails out, going back and forth, so that you can see them. And 4, the room does need work, but I'm not an audio engineer. And if you wish to spend $50,000 for an audio engineer, let Randy know, because that's what it's going to take. It's not going to be my office that deals with that.
Right. And again, I'm a little concerned that we're trying to pick up somebody's testimony on a recording who's speaking from the back of the room or speaking somewhere, wherever they're at in the room, and they're not on the stand or they're not at the table. So I don't know what's going on in that regard.
Mr. Walker, let me address that. Those people are brought forward to the podium so they can speak at the podium.
There's a microphone on the podium, which is separate from the 2 tables.
So 15,000 back in 22. What else have we done recently then over there?
We attempted to replace the PC with a brand new one, and it would not accept the software. So we reverted back so that they could continue with what they had.
Okay, so the recordings are recorded to a PC, and then
they record to a PC, and then they mirror to one of the servers so that we have a duplicate. So that if the hardware dies for some reason, we have it in 2 places.
And this recording system is the same system that we have in the circuit court and the district court?
Correct. They are all BIS digital.
That was one of my questions as well. They're all the same. The systems are. Okay.
Microphones are different though in the circuit court from what's in the probate court, because circuit court, I believe, has microphones similar to what we have here.
At the moment, yes. Our plan was to switch those out based on a conversation with BIS, because again, we pick up a lot of room noise. Not only the creaking chairs, but just the sound of what you can hear in this room of the HVAC gets recorded.
Have you had any discussions with BIS regarding the integration issues with the Zoom interaction that's on those recordings?
The last discussion with them, everything's working. I'm relying on our contractor.
Do you know who so that service is contracted, so do you know who surrounding counties are using?
Either BIS or Jobs. They're both owned by the same holding company.
Okay.
They are the only ones certified by the state court administrator's office to be used in the state, because they have to be under a court rule.
So there's only 2 contractors, but they're under the same holding company.
Correct.
Okay, that answers that. Okay. Hey, Brad, go ahead.
So I pulled up my pictures, and well, I think Judge is speaking, so I wasn't being inattentive. I was looking for pictures, and I found pictures of when that room was remodeled. I served in that room. I served in that room prior to it being a courtroom and shared with, it was our space, and Commissioner Wiley served there as well. So in September of 2011 is the picture that I had when the drop ceiling was removed, and Judge and I built the bench that's in there now, and manufactured all the matching woodwork because it had been cut off at the tops. If you look, you can see where it was replaced and replicated. So from 2011 to, I would assume, somewhere around 2020 when we went to Zoom because of COVID.
Prior to COVID. But
okay. So I don't recall, and I was not here for all of that time, but I don't recall concerns about audio recording. So is it the introduction of Zoom because we did have history in that room with the higher ceiling and the wood and the furnishings pretty much as it is. I think probably the only thing that's been added in there is a rail. But everything else was pretty much as it was when we were in there. Now, we didn't record, we didn't transcribe, we didn't even have the Zoom camera at that time. But what has changed in addition to Zoom? Sounds like we've upgraded, and it sounds like we don't have problems in other spaces. So what's changed?
Other than the echo that is in that room.
Well, we have video equipment that we didn't have. The equipment has changed.
Yeah.
No, it has not.
You didn't have video.
The air exchanger's been added too.
Well, we had heat pumps in that room. We had two right under both windows. They were there.
They were always shut off. They were shut off before recording.
Well, okay, so that unit, the bench is here, the witness is here, the recorder is here. That is up on the ceiling, and it blows directly down onto the bench. We have to shut off either air conditioning or heat oftentimes so that we can hear. It becomes miserable in that courtroom for different reasons. I don't know if there's a different place that we can put that. If we switch the courtroom, which we've been talking about for a long time, I think that there's one of those down on the other end as well. I don't know. But it's a slew of things. Judge Lisney is now here too, if you would like to hear from her about her.
So that would be a change. Thank you, Judge, because that would be a change. Because the heat pumps were previously located under the windows, plus there was one back in the office space where Deb Coffin used to be. So we had 3 in that room. But it sounds like now we've gone to heat pumps that are mounted on the wall rather than under the windows. So that would be a physical change, and I appreciate that input. So that what would be different in there as far as the environment goes?
Doug, you had a comment?
So besides the HVAC that's changed, obviously the technology has changed. The microphones are more sensitive. The equalization is different. There's the technology, as time has gone, is so sensitive that it's picking up more than some of the less efficient microphones picked up in the past. So technology has changed over time as well.
True.
But to that, part of when we were talking about the 800 is the noise canceling effect of the radios, and that you can be out on a very, very noisy scene in public safety world, and the microphones on those are able to process that background noise out. So I'm hearing that technology is changing, they're a lot more sensitive.
None of those microphones are noise canceling that I'm aware of.
So is that a possibility?
Have to ask BIS. We have to make sure that the equipment is capable with their stuff in order to maintain the certification.
Ms. Shackleton has indicated that there are a couple of other companies that are approved. Can you address that?
Yes, we have FGR, which is the Cadillac.
Come on up, Amy, so we can see and hear you better. Thank you.
We have FGR, which is kind of the Cadillac, and price-wise the Cadillac. We have JAVS, and we have VIQ, and we have DCR. And I would, in response to the, I'm not a sound person either, but we do have software that does have a special audio process that we can run it through, and it may take out a smidgen of that. It's called ExpressScribe, which is another program that we purchased. And I would add that the transcription stuff that we get from DCR is free, and that's very helpful. But some of the other programs and equipment we have is very expensive. It comes out of my pocket, in our pocket. So, but there are 4 DCR, and I would add that I have talked to, and I almost have on speed dial, the gentleman from DCR, and he said that Hillsdale is his territory, and I think he's talked to Jessica too. Did the guy from DCR, I think we've talked about ways to transfer the records. And
I know he's talking to Tara.
Yeah.
And
Tara. Oh, I'm a Jessica. Hi, pleased to meet you. I spent a lot of time with you too.
Yes.
So DCR, we're getting all these acronyms thrown around, and BIS, but how do they fit into this puzzle as far as?
These are just, there's like, we have a Ford car, we have Chevys, we have
Yeah.
Toyota, and these are just different brands of, and everybody has their way of doing things, and the way that the transcriptions come up, the way that the software looks. I just pull it's just a software I pull up on my computer screen, and I pull the recording into it, and then I can hit my foot pedal, listen through my headset, and type away. And some of them, the recorders like much better than others, because as they're sitting there taking all their notes, some are easier. Jabs is very easy and wonderful. DCR has been very good. It seems to me when we first started typing for Hillsdale that the circuit court was on Jabs. It seems like Tara has mentioned that, but I could be mistaken. That could have been a long time ago too. So,
have you had any discussion with IT directly?
No. But we have gone kind of back and forth, and he did provide us a link to Bing, which was very incredibly helpful in another issue that we were having. So, but it's not typical for us as the transcription company to talk to the IT department, because if the courts are involved, they know what's going on rather than me calling directly.
Yeah, I think this is not your typical situation. So
I would agree with that.
I think if you have a minute, and to some extent, I agree with Dave, some of this doesn't need to be discussed publicly. So if you have a minute to talk to him today, I think it'd be appreciated.
That would be true.
So, Judge Sarah, did you have anything?
I do.
Since you're here, I'll
Thank you. And I apologize for running late. I had my docket this morning that I had to take care of before I came over. So good morning, everybody. Mainly, I want to show support for Judge Bianchi. I work with her regularly. I know the issues that she's been having with her court recording equipment. It has been ongoing for a long time. I think you're all well aware, and she's probably already talked about the hearing that had to be redone because the transcript was not anything that could be heard. And as busy as our dockets are, we only want to have to do things once. We don't want to have to do them more than that. I can respond to a couple things. So since I have been Chief Judge, I have made it a project of mine to have all 3 courts have matching court reporting equipment so that court reporters could easily come and go from one court to another. And in fact, Judge Bianchi and I are working toward a situation where we can switch courtrooms. She has some hearings where she has quite a few people coming to her courtroom, and I think you're at capacity. And so having those hearings in the circuit courtroom makes sense. But if the court reporting equipment is different, the court reporters don't know what they're doing when they go to the other setting. And frankly, during the construction, we realized that when my court reporter, Tara, tried to go to probate court and use headphones that didn't work. As it turned out, the court recording equipment in probate court, the court recorder didn't have any way of listening to what was being recorded. That's the way it works. The court reporter sits with these headphones on. They aren't listening to what's happening in the hearing. They are listening to what is actually being recorded. That's how you know that the recording is happening. That's the process that you go through. The typing that is happening are notes for the hearing so that you can find things in the transcript as you're looking. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, that's the
confidence recording.
In a nutshell, that's the process. And so when Tara went to probate court, she found problems right away. So another good way to do this is you've got different court reporters trying different equipment so we can find issues, as opposed to perhaps a new court reporter not even realizing that it is an issue and they're sitting there and just dealing with it. So we're working on that. I don't think I'm wrong. One of the things that I did was get video recording at district court. That was one of the first things that we added to the court reporting. Frankly, the reason I did that, the court reporters might not love this, but it allows more people to be able to run the equipment. You don't have to have the same licensures if you have video equipment as otherwise. There are still good reasons to have those licensures, but it gives you some flexibility, and we were having trouble getting people get their certification. We were having a shortage of certified court reporters. The plan had always been to expand that, so when I left district court and went to circuit court, one of the things that I did, I used some of the grant money that we got from COVID through the state police grant, and we bought the video equipment for circuit court. And then I'm remembering that most recently we added video equipment to the probate court, so that all 3 courts now have video equipment. So as you're talking about what's different in the courtroom, that is one of the things that's different. It may not be affecting too much, but that's a difference that we have. So I wanted you to know all of that. I also totally support the idea that Zoom is here to stay. That isn't going anywhere. It has worked into our court rules. Every judge uses it a little bit differently. It is extremely convenient for low-income people. They don't have to drive. I mean, there's lots of good reasons for us to be using Zoom. And if it is working properly, it is a wonderful tool. It is extremely efficient and works well. And I believe Judge Bianchi prefers in person, but I also know that part of her feeling has to do with problems that she's had with Zoom and being able to hear and the way that it happens in her courtroom. So I think if that could be improved, that would be a wonderful step. Anything else I'm missing that you wanted me to cover? We did have an incident, I can tell you, and just last week we were in the middle of a docket and the court recording, the whole county went down, and IT was on the spot. They jumped and did everything that we needed them to do. It wasn't great for purposes of the hearing I was in the middle of, but we were able to minimize that, and they dropped everything and got us back going. So I want to thank IT for that. We have had problems with the equipment. The sound in Judge Bianchi's courtroom has a long time been a problem. We are having spooling issues now where we're having to sit and wait. Those are the most recent issues I know we've been having. One of the beautiful things I can do is pull up the recording. If I do enough hearings that I don't always remember what I say a week later, and so I can go back and I can play that recording and know exactly what happened on the record. The way it's done lately, we've been trying to do that, and we have to wait about 5 minutes for it to come up. So it's been a problem in the system, and that is something that we need to remedy. I'm also aware that the conversations have been happening with the way we're sending the records to Amy's people. They're not coming in a way that they can be heard by you, correct?
They have, we call it an audio drop. And then sometimes it says the requested operation cannot be performed. We're typing along and it just has that. But I think that your IT people have got a solution for that, and we're working on it, and it's much, much better.
So that was a different problem. We could hear it here, so it had recorded and we could hear it, but it was the transfer that was causing some kind of a problem, and that's the most recent issue that I can tell you that we've had a lot of conversations about. I know Tara has been speaking directly with you and directly with IT to get that taken care of. So that's the 2 cents I can add to the conversation. Again, the transcripts are critical, so it's going to be something that we have to make sure that we get done. The grant money has helped quite a bit as far as easing the expense of getting this taken care of. We've had to wait for parts periodically because they haven't been available. I know we've tried to do budget things by using some used equipment when possible, but it is an important area and it needs to be supported. And any questions for me?
Any questions? Doesn't appear to be.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Any other comments from anyone on this subject? I guess I'll just close by saying, Amy, if you do have a minute, Dave is here and you can talk to him on your way out. I appreciate that. Appreciate you all bringing this to us, and we'll look into it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And who said IT? Okay. Yes, sir.
We'll be talking.
Yep. Understood. think you and I need to have a chat with him probably. All right. Get back on schedule here, Smart. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm glad to see you all have been warmed up. My name is Shamar Heron. I'm the Executive Director of Michigan Works Southeast. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, board members and commissioners, for having us this morning. You know, once to twice a year we come in and let you know what we've been up to. And so this is our opportunity to update not only this body, but the individuals who are here and those who may be listening. And so I want to position this a little bit better so that we can move forward. So again, Shamar Heron with Michigan Works Southeast, and this is our 2025 County Commissioner update here in the great county of Hillsdale. And I want to second Amy's statement. I drive a little further than Celine, but it is always a beautiful ride. So we want to thank you to the entire body of commissioners who are part of the Michigan Works Southeast Consortium, but in particular, we were blessed with not one, but two Commissioner Collins at the start of this year. And so Commissioner Kevin Collins, welcome. And a particular thank you to Commissioner Ingalls, who now serves as our chair of our county, of our board of, our consortium board. And so I do want to just highlight that Commissioner Ingalls is always prepared, asks great questions, and is representative of this body in a tremendous way. So thank you again, Commissioner Ingalls. As you may remember, your primary board responsibilities is to administer funds and serve as our fiscal agent. So any dollars that come into the consortium, our consortium board is responsible for, and by way of our PA7 agreement, therefore, this board is responsible as well. But we have proven to be efficient and meet all of our compliance requirements. Therefore, there has thus far, and I continue to have it that way, no fiscal issues that raise to the level of concern that I have to report at this time. You approve all contracts, so anything that we go out for competitive bid on that's over $35,000, the consortium board has to approve. And so thus far that process has been smooth, as well as being the employer of record. So we have 80 individuals who work across our 5 counties, and the board of our consortium board is responsible for all 80 of those individuals within Michigan Works Southeast. Really quickly, who we are. Again, we cover 5 counties, Hillsdale, of course, Jackson, Lenawee, Livingston, and Washtenaw. That's almost 1 million people in population. Just about half of that is our labor force. Those are individuals that are 16 and older, able-bodied, and looking for work. And so 12% of the population across our region is in that poverty criteria. About 35% of those individuals in the labor force are part of, they're either below poverty levels or at the ALICE threshold. And so that's something we continue to work with all of our community partners to bring that number down. And then lastly, a stat that I think is really important for this body is 37% of workers in the region travel more than 30 minutes to work. 15% travel more than 60 minutes. And that normally will get you out of the county lines when you're traveling about an hour. And so we put that stat in there to help our commissioners understand people go where the work is. And so our very real lines of county borders don't matter to people who are seeking employment, and they'll travel as far as they can to maintain employment that helps their household. We're going to get into some of the local work that's being done here. And so Sandy, our service center manager, is up next. Sandy, you want to take it away?
Yes, where's the button?
It's that one.
The end one? All right.
Yeah.
All right, well, hello. I'm like at my second home here. You guys are tired of seeing me, I know. Here I am again.
Welcome.
So it was really hard to pick just a couple things that Hillsdale's proud of doing. One of them is our Summer Works, which is our first summer youth program that we had last year. We started out with 10 individuals. We ended up with 9 successfully completing, which 90% is an awesome rate. The one that didn't succeed actually wasn't a bad thing. Part of the paid work experience opportunity is to figure out if it's something that they really are interested in. This individual thought that they wanted to be a veterinary, so we placed them at the Humane Society, and within a couple weeks they realized that is not what they wanted to do. That's okay, right? Because they're not going to put the money into scholarships or school, that type of thing, to find out that's not what they wanted. So we also had one that was hired at the end, and that was at Crossroads Home Health Care. So that was very exciting. This youth showed their compassion and the desire to work, and so we're always excited that once they try them out, that then they ended up hiring them. So what we do when we pick the sites is we try to match the youth where their interests are. So we had 2 that were placed at the medical care facility. We had one that was placed at the Jonesville Bakery. And that one was unique because she's very artsy and she wanted to be an artist. The closest place that we thought that we could provide that was her decorating cakes. And she actually decorated the celebration cake for the group. We also had 4 individuals that were placed at Jonesville High School, the IT. What's exciting about that is Jonesville last year, they all got new computers. The reason why they needed those 4 youth was to help upload and get all those computers ready for when school started. So that was exciting. The City of Reading, we had one that was placed there, and then we had the one at the Crossroads Home Health Care that was hired. So we also had them, they worked about 25 hours a week at most of the sites. They came to our centers on Wednesday. And they came for 3 hours, 10 to 1. And during that time, we had partners come in. One of the things that we did, Michigan Works Southeast, is we provided the A game, which is a soft skill curriculum. And there's 7 A's: attitude, acceptance, appearance, appreciation, attendance, ambition, and accountability. So they learned all about those while they were in the class with us. Along with that, we had Southern Michigan Bank and Trust that came in twice and provided financial literacy. We had Lifeways come in and discuss embracing mental health. And then we had CAA come in and talk about Rent for Success. And then we did have our celebration at the end, and that's where these pictures were taken. We had a motivational speaker come in. And people told me when we do the celebration this year to make sure that we bring Kleenexes because we needed them. And I want to thank Commissioner Ingalls for attending. It was very exciting to have you there and for you to observe the hard work. It takes a village to get these guys going. And we just started Summer Works yesterday for this year. So I'll report that to you the next time that we present. The other thing, let me see. Okay, so Agricultural Career Day. We listened to you, Commissioner Wiley, because you had asked us to get into the agricultural type area. So we have one of our board members there in the picture with me in the middle. The one to the left, we were actually at Weldon Farms in Jonesville. It was on the farm, as you can tell, those pictures. There was 12 schools represented. They had over 235 students and chaperones there. They had 8 stations. They had the open speaker, which was Steve Meckley from Meckley Favor Food Farms. In those 8 stations, they had Creek Family Farms, Countryside Veterinary Service, which the youth loved that. All the students wanted to hear more from the vet that was there. She brought all of her tools. She went into, some of the things that she has to do, very interesting. Anderson's was there, University of Northwest Ohio, Greek Mart Equipment, Wells Equipment, and Sebastian Well and Drilling. And so every 20 minutes the kids rotated and they got to hear a little bit about what those businesses did. So, and then just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that are coming up, Summer Works I just mentioned. We are proud about our mobile food market that runs from April to October, that they're using our parking lot. And then we have a new program, and I hope I'm not stealing your information, but GEMS, Gain Employment Maintain Support, which is working with front of the court referrals. Do you have any questions for me?
Ag Career Day this year?
I haven't gotten information yet, but probably, and we did sponsor this last year as well.
Okay.
So I figure that we will entertain that as well again.
Okay, good. How many youth did you have in the Summer Works program? You said it started yesterday?
No, so yesterday was for this new year.
Right.
Last year we had 10 that started and we ended up with 9 that completed.
Okay, so how many started yesterday?
Yesterday we had 13.
Okay. Okay.
And pretty much a very diverse sites too.
Very good.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited.
Go ahead, Brad.
Yes.
Thank you. Since you're on youth, I've got a few things. First, just comment about the IT deployment. My youngest son, that was his summer job during college, was deploying new units across campus and getting them on net, getting the software loaded. And he's a very successful IT professional today, partially based on that experience. So that's great that you're working with those students. What does the summer job outlook look like for youth, Sandy? My wife and I were actually just having a conversation about the number of young people and matching them to jobs that they want to do. Part of the conversation was a local egg producer that we know is paying $20 an hour for kids to come square bale hay. And that's reflective on what the market price is for that kind of labor. So what is that outlook for young people that are out of high school right now looking for a job this summer?
Depending on what they're willing to take, there's always the fast food type positions. Unfortunately, the job market, a lot of more mature adults, I guess is what we call them, are working longer. So that a lot of times takes the vacancies away from the youth potential. What I find is a lot of them want to be gamers right now, right? We have one that we're working with that wants to be an actor. Just getting them to get realistic goals and working with them. Like the one that wanted to be an actor, have you worked at the Stock Theater? No. Well, how do you think you got to get some of that experience, right? The jobs are out there, but what gets in their way is transportation. A lot of times they don't have a driver's license. They're depending on other people for that. So we try to remove all of those barriers and all of those excuses. If they really want to work and they have the potential, we can get them a job. They can get a job for sure. It's just getting them motivated and those soft skills. That's why we do the A game. Those soft skills are so important. Employers can train them to do the job, but they can't train them to show up to work and not be in their pajamas and such. So my opinion is they're out there if they want to work. But they don't really want to work doing the hard stuff, the hay, the corn stalking thing, what I used to do. I went through a paid work experience for 2 years when I was in high school, Pittsburgh area school. Never will forget scraping the gum off underneath the desk. Everybody at school that summer was like, don't you ever put any gum underneath those desks, right? It does, just like your example of your son, it does pay off if we can give them the opportunity. It's just getting to them.
And my last question for you is the legislature last year, they changed the process for obtaining a work permit for those young people. Traditionally, those have been through the schools, and basically the potential employee, they would go ahead and get that. It's my understanding now the employer also has some obligations. Could you explain that for everyone, what that new youth work permit looks like as far as the process and when that is actually will be implemented?
I would love to, but I do not have that information.
Okay.
I can look it up and get it
Commissioner,
to you.
I don't believe that was passed and took effect. It was.
I believe I just read something from one of our entities, either MTA or Michigan Association of Counties, that in fact that new policy is going to, I know it did not look like, because they were going to move that obligation to the Sheriff's Department, but I do believe that that was rolled out.
Okay.
If I'm incorrect, I would be delighted to be corrected on that, but it was my understanding that process has changed.
And the reason why I'm probably not aware of it is it didn't affect the youth that we're working with right now. And most of them are 18. There's only a couple of them that are 17.
So you're not working with that population that's 15 to 18.
Right, correct. Any other questions for me? All right, well, I'm going to introduce Misty, their Deputy Director.
Good morning. And there. And got it. Okay. Well, let's test this out. Okay, well, Sadie, did you want to talk about your career success story? She knows these individuals better than I, so I'll just step over here for a second and let her close up.
So we love to do success stories, right? So Jessica, she originally came from Mexico, and I don't want to read this to you, but she wanted to get into the healthcare, so she came to our center. We sent her to Premier Medical Academy. She graduated as a salutatorian, and she began her employment at the Hillsdale Hospital. And then Elizabeth, she came from our TAA program, which is the program that the work gets outsourced. It's our Cadillac of programs. So she earned her associate's degree. She became a registered technologist in radiography, and then she did her clinicals at Hillsdale Hospital, and then she just got hired at Hillsdale Hospital as the radiography technician, with my verbal technical difficulties. So we always like to shout out, and we're strategic about why these, the Hillsdale Hospital, why we honed in on that, and then I'll pass it over to you. How's that?
Excellent, awesome. All right, Sandy, thank you.
Thank you.
So we've talked a lot about our programming and helping remove barriers for our individuals, and so we really wanted to summarize what the impact was for Hillsdale County as we administer these programs. And so we focus on removing barriers to employment. Shamar gave a statistic earlier in the presentation about the ALICE population. So these individuals are working. They do have that motivation, but barriers come up that prevent them from being able to maybe have good attendance and continue to build on their skills and advance within the occupation. So that's where we can come in and help with that barrier removal. So in our 24 program year, we removed, hold on, let me reset here for a second. So 24-25, we saw an increase in the individuals that we served in their wages by 51%. So at the time they enrolled with us, at the time that they exited, we had helped them increase their wages by 51%. We served over 100 families, and we spent almost $82,000 on direct client supports. Okay, so that's maybe fixing their tire so that they can get back and forth to work. Maybe that's helping them with that registration fee for childcare so that they can continue to explore their employment opportunities. Where all of this really, like the rubber meets the road, is what does it mean for employers? And so this retention rate, when we remove those barriers, our employers saw an 88% retention rate for their workforce. And so they were able to continue uploading these individuals and moving them forward, retaining that institutional knowledge that they have. And so for us, that's a really important metric that our impact has. So Sandy talked a lot about Career Seeker Services. Another department that we have is our business services. And so right here are just two examples of us working with local employers in Hillsdale. So Hillsdale Hospital, they apply for our Going Pro Talent Fund. That's a competitive grant from the state of Michigan where Michigan Works agencies work with the employer. They have a training plan. It often involves new hires. It involves incumbent workers, so they're upskilling individuals they currently have in their workforce, and it can also include apprenticeships. And so in 24, Hillsdale Hospital was awarded almost $170,000 for their training plan that included 77 new hires and 58 current workers, continuing to retain those skills and build and allow that individual to excel within Hillsdale Hospital. Another one of the services we provide to our local employers is that incumbent worker training. This is a grant that an employer can work with our business services reps on, and it is local. The state is not involved in the determination of the award. We locally do this, and we use this grant to help, again, upskill a current workforce and allow that business to stay competitive, help that individual be competitive with their skill set. And so we have on here, the logo is for Acme Mills. They were one of the employers that we worked with in 24, but we also served Martin Rea, R&D Controls, Ross Engineering. They all took advantage of this incumbent worker training program to upskill their workforce and continue to thrive in today's economy. And this is just a snapshot of what was awarded locally in Hillsdale to employers. Again, this is all around training and helping bring on new hires so that these businesses can stay competitive. And Shamar, I think you're closing this out.
Yep, sure will. And so again, you heard about the general work that we're doing. You heard about specifically what we call our career seekers. We try to stay away from using the word job unless they're youth. And so you heard about business services. We didn't mention adult education, but those are our three primary focal areas: career seeker services, business services, and adult education. And so we don't come here just to tell you about what we've done. I believe in putting these bodies to tasks such as yours. And so what we need is collaboration. We're not here just to report to you, right? We all have a duty to ensure that your community is doing well. And so I'm not here to simply report. I am giving you all a homework assignment. And so at my last consortium board meeting, I was called to task asking, how am I asking our Board of Commissioners to assist us? And so I do this slide every year. And so now we've got 3 more meetings. I'm going to be diligent about this slide and elevate my tone so that everyone hears Shamar saying, we need your help. And here's how you can do it. 1, if you know of a business that is in need, we would love to see the number of services increase to our business community. They are the drivers of everything that we do as a workforce development agency. They have the positions, they pay the higher amount of taxes. We want to support them with their talent needs. So if you know of a business that's in need around talent, you're duty bound to let them know that Michigan Works Southeast is here to support them. Next, it might be a friend, it might be a family member, it might be one of your constituents that is looking to change careers, start a career. You just asked about our youth, and the Youth Employment Standards Act was passed in 24. It takes effect October 2nd of 26. And what happens around those permits, the work permits, it's gotten centralized. So now it's at the Labor and Economic Opportunity Department with the state of Michigan. No longer do you have to go to the schools. It's an online registry, and that's where the young people get their work permits. But our career seekers, if they're in need of assistance to us, if they're in need of assistance from us, please know we're here to help. If you're working on any major projects, whether it's a recruitment project with your wonderful economic development agency, they normally call us in. But if you have some thoughts, questions, comments, you can always reach out to our commissioners who represent, or you can reach out to myself or Sandy directly if you want more information. And if there's any community events that you would like us to be a part of, whether it's Agriculture Day, whether it's something at the Hack that I love attending, or just throughout your districts, if there is an area event that you think Michigan Works Southeast should be at, please know that if we can, we will be there. but it takes two of us to make this happen. So Michigan Works Southeast is prepared to help the County of Washtenaw in any way we can regarding talent development and workforce development. Here's our contact information, and we will take any questions that you have.
Any questions? Doug?
Shmar, thanks so much for your team to be here today. The Michigan Works Southeast has new fiscal administrator this year, which has been very helpful. And I'm wondering if you could describe some of the impact of cuts in federal funding.
So we ourselves are going to see a minimal cut this year. So federally what happens is the money is distributed to the states, and then the states by formula distribute the funds throughout the state of Michigan. There are 16 Michigan Works agencies here in the state of Michigan. We make up the Michigan Works system. And so fortunately, this upcoming year, Michigan Works saw about a 2% cut. The numbers that we are seeing by way of the proposal from the administration will be astronomical. We are looking at potentially almost a $40 million cut to workforce dollars to the state of Michigan. That will certainly have a rippling effect across our region, the state. Some of our larger Michigan Works agencies lost as much as $2 million in this upcoming year. I don't rejoice in the fact that we didn't see as high of cuts, because I know my colleagues in other counties are feeling it, and therefore their communities are going to be feeling it. But what we're staring down the barrel of right now is the potential of humongous cuts along with a different distribution model. So right now we're receiving our funds by formula funding, and they take into account unemployment, labor force participation, population. We know Michigan has not seen population growth since I've been alive. And so those combined with changing from formula to block grant funding has the potential to be catastrophic. Couple that with knowing we're seeing more people. I think Sandy can speak to it. Our doors are starting to swing at a rate that they haven't since pre-COVID. I think we're right now at 38,000 people we've served. But by the end of our program year, which is the end of this month, we believe we'll have seen 50,000 people. And we haven't seen those numbers since pre-COVID. So we're seeing more people, receiving less funding, and there's the potential to have catastrophic cuts to the work that we do. And so that's going to have a reverberating effect in terms of who we can contract with to help us, how we contract, what types of services we can provide, how much the services cost will be reduced in terms of how we can pay for it. So while we didn't see it was marginal this year, everybody's on red alert right now across the state of Michigan. And if you look at the proposed cuts across the nation, our workforce system has the potential to be devastated.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Sandy, if you get that ag career day set up, shoot me that date when you get it, please.
Okay.
I will certainly try to attend this year.
I'll send the flyer to Dave and he can share it out.
That'll be great.
Okay.
Yep, thank you. All right, thank you so much for your report.
Commissioners, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Misty, Sandy. All right, moving along. Brad, you're up first today.
All righty, get to my tab here. I was incredulous that we had no committee action items, so everything was under consent. So all I have is a report for you. Community Corrections held a special meeting on May the 30th to approve their grant application for the 2026 fiscal year. That was necessitated because the state moved from a paper submission process to an online process, and they didn't roll that out portal to be able to do that until like the week before. So we had to relatively quickly get put together. Cole did and Mark Cass did a really good job of rallying and getting a form set up for that. And we were able to get that submitted, and so that will be for the new fiscal year beginning October the 1st. Sheriff Hodshire announced the department heads meeting that the summer work program is again available to local units of government. They usually have 12 participants, and they work an 8-hour weekend shift. If you know of any of your local units, you can refer them to the Undersheriff's office, and they can give them the details on how to get signed up for that. I know in the village of North Adams, they did a bunch of work last year, and they were very grateful to have that workforce available to them. So if any of your townships, cities, or villages might be able to use that, please reach out to Sheriff Landry. As of May 30th, there were 81 inmates in our jail. We continue to run a relatively high population out there. And Friend of the Court is now fully staffed. We're beginning to hear that round and about through various county offices, that they are now able to fully staff that office. And I know Friend of the Court has had a long struggle from director down, but they are at 100% now. Mark and I met last week with a group of our employees in regards to how things are going, how our handbook is working out. Seems that the consensus that the PTO policy that we implemented a little over a year ago has now been widely accepted, and everybody is pretty happy with the way that was working out after some concerns, because change is never easy, but they do seem to have adapted and are pretty happy with that. We do have some proposed changes to the handbook. Most of those are simply edits to form, some reformatting or word changes in it. No major changes there. We will continue to work. I know IT did have some policy changes they wanted implemented, and we will hopefully later this year have another revision to that employee handbook, as well as some of the appendixes in there, because we've added some additional things that we feel would be important to have those in there. Commissioner Wiley and I are still working to resolve the grievance at Central Dispatch. We've got a number of meetings on that, and hopefully at some point we will be able to get that taken care of. Yesterday, Hillsdale County Medical Control met. The state has revised 28 protocols for EMS, all of which will need to be adopted by the end of October. And so we will be working. We added an extra meeting. We normally meet quarterly. We added an extra meeting in August. And the hope is that we will be able to get those approved at the local level so they can be sent off to the state, and those integrated and then come back to us so we can deploy those out to all of our EMS agencies within the county. The Hillsdale and Jackson County Drug Box Exchange is up and working now. We've got a couple little tweaks to that, but that seems to be working out quite well, and that has been a significant improvement. One nice thing is for crews such as Somerset, if they take a patient from Hillsdale County, a crack Hillsdale County drug box, go to Jackson, previously they would have to come all the way back to Hillsdale Hospital and be out of service until they could get that drug box. Now they can do that exchange when they go to Henry Ford Jackson, and as soon as they hit the county line, they're back in service again and able to serve the population. So that has been a really, really good thing. We also had considerable discussion as to why only half of our county fire departments have medical first responders. Some of the reasons for that were lack of personnel. Many departments continue to struggle with staffing just on the fire side of the house, let alone people who are willing to undergo the additional training to obtain an EMS license. Also is funding from the local units. The burden of calls, I know with my department, probably 80% of the calls that we run in the course of a year are EMS related, and that significantly increases the number of runs the department. And so therefore, if the local funding unit is paying their people on a per run basis, then that significantly increases the expense. And also a cultural that they are fire departments, not EMS agencies. So there's a number of barriers. And the thought from the medical control director is that we could significantly increase response times if we were to have more MFR agencies throughout the county, but it does not look that we will see any cultural shift in that. Reading a few years ago, they actually trained some of the people, and they were not able to get that program up and going down in reading. Our next meeting again will be on August the 6th. Commissioner Leiner, this question is really directed towards yourself, but the Emergency Management Director did inquire as to what coverage the volunteers that they would have under emergency management. They do have a group of volunteers that they've had for a long time, and was trying to find out what coverage they would have in regards to any injuries that they might incur while volunteering under emergency management. So if you could help him with that, he would greatly appreciate it. And I did send out to all of you a letter from the District Court Magistrate in regard to the District Court amnesty. So you should have that. Please do share that with your local units. I did print a copy of that letter, and I've been leaving that with the clerk as I've begun to work my way through my meeting cycle this month. That is an excellent opportunity for anyone who might have outstanding fines or bench warrants to get those cleared up for simply the price of whatever the original infraction, misdemeanor civil infraction ticket. Again, that's a really good opportunity to get those cleared off the books, and that runs through the end of August.
I don't recall, did they mention, or did the judge mention how that was going to be disseminated other than us?
She is looking, or Magistrate Dockstader is looking for any help in getting that information out. I did hear it did go to WCSR, so I know it did get out there. I don't know if the Daily News did an article on it. I'm sure that was driven out to Corey as well. So, but again, any help that we can add, and a follow-up email from her. She did say if there is any recommendations that myself or any of my fellow commissioners had, please get with her, and for driving that information out to the public.
Right. And she did mention a dollar number that is potential. Do you recall?
Yeah, it was a pretty, I don't recall what the exact number, but it was a fairly significant amount of money. Collections across our courts continues to be a significantly, a large amount of money we're leaving on the table because we just simply don't have the dedicated staff to do that collection work. So the hopes is that this will create an incentive for people where we don't have to deploy more staff to be able to work on it.
Right. Thank you. Anything else?
That's all I have for you unless there are questions.
Comment. I did look back and reference the grievance. The labor attorney sent after Brad and I and Thomas and Tommy had a Zoom with her, I believe that was on June 6th as well. The email was June 6th. She sent to the union, and she did, I think, was a little sterner, if you will, on this one. And today is the 10th and still no reply from the union. So the ball's in their court. But part of the problem here, gentlemen, is they, in good faith, Brad and I, as well as Thomas and Tommy, agreed to a policy change. Then the whole issue started escalating into changes that they were trying to make within the contract. That's not what the grievance was. And quite frankly, the contract should be discussed at contract negotiation time. And so the thing has kind of evolved into something that they either agree with what we agreed to or we walk away from the table on it. So that's basically where it's at. And the ball's, like I say, the ball's in their court. But I think that we collectively made a considerable concession, and then they tried to reach for more. And that's why it's kind of gone sideways, but just so you all know. Any other questions or comments for Brad? Brent? you're next,
All
please.
right, well, tomorrow morning we have an opioid committee meeting. We will probably continue to discuss the proposal that we received regarding some advertising geared towards youth for substance use prevention. Still looking for some answers on that as to how that can be measurable in its effect in that population. Also tomorrow we have received a proposal from the Hillsdale Civil Air Patrol, and we'll start some preliminary discussions on that at that opioid committee meeting, and that is here in this room at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Tomorrow evening, and I can't attend, but Commissioner Wiley, are you going to be going to that meeting in Ohio? The Ohio EPA is having a public hearing regarding their water discharge permit request from Aqua Bounty. Commissioner, I don't know if you have gone out and looked at the 95-page draft permit that the Ohio EPA has proposed issuing in that regard. Interesting that they're looking at issuing this for a company that has pretty much sold all of the equipment that they were going to install at this property in Pioneer, Ohio. So, but I am obligated already tomorrow night, so I can't attend that. But again,
I already let Bev know that I was going to be there. Bev.
Yeah.
Grazer. Yeah, she's very active as far as the citizens group, if you will, and she keeps us very well informed. So, and she's very happy that Brent will be to the OMI meeting, I believe, on Monday.
Third Tuesday, next week, Tuesday the 17th.
Okay. The 17th.
Yeah, at 1, which I'm going to hope that we can change that time, because the third Tuesday is. I also have a meeting in Brooklyn at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which I'm going to probably join that one on Zoom this time, but hope to see if the members of the OMI, if we can look at a different time, because it sounds like they've been having a difficulty getting a quorum to attend. One thing, and interesting to hear where this goes on the agenda for that OMI meeting, is discussing remote participation at meetings. I'm not sure statutorily wise how that would affect the members coming from Michigan, because in Michigan, we are not allowed to vote when we're participating remotely. So,
well, if there's no action item.
Yeah. It's something that
needs to be discussed.
Yes.
So, okay.
On Thursday, we have Prevention Works meeting. There's some things to discuss there, and I believe next Friday we have a overdose review committee meeting as well at the DHHS. I want to thank Erin in the Drains office for the note she sent last week to all the members of the Board of Commission, updating them on some of those projects that the drain department has been working on. The stump drain, I believe the contractor has some equipment on site, but I have not seen any work start on that yet. And I know that they're hoping to start that this week, but 2 inches of rain in that area kind of makes it a little wet to do some of that work right now. Also indicated on there was the Bear Lake Dam project. And Commissioner Collins, you weren't here, but in 2001, the Drain Commission had to do some work on that Bear Lake Dam as well. And at that point in time, the county general fund lent to the Lake Revolving Fund to cover that expense and to carry that expense over 5 years. In the email from Erin, it said, still working on the funding for that. In talking with the Drain Commissioner, they can go out and look at a bond to cover that for 5 years, but that bonding cost, by the time you do all of that, is quite exorbitant compared to the total cost of that project. What we're working on and will be probably be bringing a resolution to the board for consideration probably after they have a public hearing, and I think that public hearing is scheduled for the Wednesday after our next Board of Commission meeting, is looking at a resolution for the general fund to loan to the Bear Lake district the money to cover that, and probably look at a 5-year payback on that. By lending directly to the Bear Lake lake level district, the county will be able to charge interest on that loan as well, which we're not able to do when we lend to the lake revolving fund or to the drain revolving fund. Looking at that, it's probably fair to the county to have some interest come back in on that, because that money is not able to be invested by the treasurer out in other investments on that, and it still saves the lake assessment districts some money. We'll probably also be looking at that same type of lending on some other projects that the Drain Commissioner is working on, looking at short term, because most of those other projects will still end up going out to a bonding issue once the construction and is ready to begin. But the Boyd drainage project in Wright Township in the village of Waldron, it's going to be about a year or so before that goes out to bid. There's quite a bit of engineering costs that will be needed to be done on that, as opposed to lending just to the drain revolving fund. If we do a direct loan to the drainage district itself, the Drain Commissioner's legal counsel has said that we can have interest come back to the county on those funds that we can't when we loan to the revolving funds. And again, we've been working with the Drain Commissioner on that. He is agreeable to that. We've worked on an interest rate that is fair and we think acceptable to all parties, and we'll be bringing that forward in the near future. Still waiting to see what's going to be on the Health Department agenda later this month, and same with Wellwise. I was not able to attend the Pittsford Township meeting last night, but from their last meeting, it's quite evident that they want to make sure that when we go to negotiations with the ambulance agencies later this year, that Hudson remain a part of that ambulance service provider. Especially part of their township is right across the road from the city of Hudson. So, and that is my report.
Any questions? Excuse me. Any questions or comments? Doug, go ahead.
So on the Drain Commission lending of money to them, that would come from the county general fund. Where does that money come from?
That is money that's from the county general fund, reserve fund,
fund balance,
which is what we have been, we have traditionally lended from the fund balance to the drain revolving fund or to the lake revolving fund as well.
Okay.
Then it's returned to that fund.
Well, it comes back to the fund balance when it's paid back.
Right.
But
and the interest would as well.
That will come back to the general fund balance. Yeah.
Fund balance.
Yep.
Thank you. You okay?
Oh, I'm not used to this phone rings right straight to the.
I thought you were going to fall off your chair.
It's loud when it rings into the hearing aid. They're nice, but it startled me, Doug.
And I want to thank the treasurer for getting us interest rates, currently that we're earning on the investments that the treasurer's office has out there. And what we did is we took an average of all of those bond and CD investments to come up with what that interest rate that we should be charging when we do this lending.
And it's coming to what?
I want to say 3.7
thereabouts.
%, yes.
Okay.
As long as we're not losing money on what we would get somewhere else.
Well, and that's what my discussions with the Drain Commissioner is. When we lend to the revolving fund, we don't get any interest back on those that lending. And talking with this council, statutorily, we can't get any interest back when we loan to the revolving fund. But if we loan to the specific drainage district, then that drainage district can pay that interest back.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments for Brent? When do you anticipate that coming before us?
Again, for the Bear Lake one,
Right.
I know that they have to have a public hearing on that, and I think Aaron was talking about trying to get that public hearing scheduled, and I believe that was for the 25th. So the first that, we would have, because they have to have the public hearing first before we can do that, according to their council. So I believe that would be the 8th of July when that one would come. We may bring some of the others. Right now, we have a large outstanding amount to the lake revolving fund for Lake Leanne. And the question is should we do a note directly with the Lake Leanne lake level district in the fund balance on that $200,000+ that's outstanding there? That the Drain Commissioner's intent is to levy that on the winter tax bill this year, and so that'll get paid back then next year.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Doug, your turn, sir.
I have no update.
No update. Okay. Any questions for Doug on anything? Okay. Kevin, your turn.
At the senior center meeting, they're having a Father's Day lunch on Friday, June the 13th for anybody that wants to attend. And on May 29th, Commissioner Wiley and myself met with Maggie, the director, and Daniel, the financial director, about rewriting the contract. They are getting that rewritten, and when they get done with that, they'll let me, Mark, or I know that they're done, and we'll go back for another meeting and hash it out and see if we need more meetings or if we can bring it.
And that was for who? Please. I didn't catch
the senior center.
Senior center. Okay.
Yes, because the contract that we had with them through the county had their bond still in there, and they paid that off.
Understood. I just didn't hear that.
Okay. Yep. And so hopefully they'll have that done shortly, and we'll be able to get that in the works. At the Community Actions Agency, they were happy because they got a grant. Their grant for their Head Start and Early Head Start was approved for the 25-26 school year. And then with the Planning Commission, we do have the master plan nearly done. Hopefully at the next meeting we can finish it up. We're just trying to get wording and some maps and stuff to put in there, and wording on for the solar, if we should add anything in above and beyond that. And at the Health Service Network, Key Opportunity gave a presentation, and they're hoping to start their buildings in where the Eagles are in Jonesville, and they're going to start out with 13 units, and all 13 units will be going to the Key Opportunity people that they have in there already. And they also are going to have where the clubhouse was, or whatever you want to call it, the bar, they're going to have that as a cooking area, because right now they're doing that out to Key Opportunity. They want to move the cooking area out there, and also have a exercise place for them, and also a community room just to meet and do stuff like that. And that's all I have right now. Anybody has any questions?
Go ahead, Brad.
Just the intent was with the senior contractor to send that out for legal review on our end before it comes before this body.
Absolutely.
I would make that assumption, but I just...
Yep.
And I didn't say that.
In regards to that, I mean, our current contract goes through December of this year with the senior center.
Correct.
So, as regarding the timeliness of this, we have a contract through December 31st
Right.
already.
Yeah, it's not a matter of urgency. They just reached out and wanted to get started. It's more of a service contract. It's also more of a contract tied back to the millage monies and the distribution thereof. But yeah, they're going to have it reviewed after they make the revisions that we discussed. We'll have it reviewed, and then it'll come before you. But
And I know,
not a sense of urgency on it.
well, I know we're still waiting for them to get the quit claim deed prepared so that we can approve that for transfer of that real estate back to them.
I believe Daniel's working on that, but you may want to follow up on that.
Okay.
So, because, yeah, we need to get that taken care of so that that's done.
The one question I have in regards to that is because that building has been a county building, we have been receiving their gas meter has been on the county account. And we pay it, but we get reimbursed from the senior center because of that. I've asked even Derek to look in to see if that's even permissible once we transfer that building to them, or if they need to take that over themselves.
I would imagine that
I would think
probably would, because it'd be showing them as the owners instead of the county as the owners. But I will ask Daniel to look into that too once that's done.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
should that be taken off the insurance then once that fee goes through?
Oh, yes.
I'm not sure that we did cover that one, but.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Once that quick claim deed is filed and, everything's taken care of, yes, they should take over they're going to have full ownership. They already really technically do.
Stephanie, I'm not even sure that it was on our insurance policy.
That's what I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Do we need to consider perhaps this would be something that budget treasury office would do, or finance office would do, is to basically have a closing on that property when that quick claim is done so that we see all of these things like insurance are taken care of, utilities, anything else that we currently have responsibility for, because I don't want to hear 3 years down the road, building burns down, and we find out, gee, nobody changed the insurance, we quit paying it.
Well, those are all good questions. Follow up on the insurance question as well, but yeah.
I'll follow up on the gas insurance and the quick claim deed.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the insurance, but
Because we have so many buildings,
yeah,
they came to, if we're paying insurance, we need to
right.
remove it if it's.
They paid it, but
We can look into that. But that's a good point. So,
And I think they are paying the insurance because something went on liability-wise, and it was their insurance company that they were dealing with.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that the contract required them to carry the insurance on the property.
I will check it out and make sure. And I do not remember reading that in the contract about the insurance, but maybe it was.
I think there was something in there about liability, but I don't know. I don't remember on the physical structure.
I'll tell Daniel when we're done here to stop out there and see him.
Okay. Yeah, I guess when you get an answer on that from Daniel, shoot that information out to everybody.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Anything else for Kevin? All right. a lot of the things that I've done with Brad or Kevin or whomever has been discussed. The opioid meeting tomorrow. About the only thing I think that's been left out of discussion that I'll be taking part of with Brad, unless you did mention it, we've got a meeting with Kim Friday morning.
Correct. I did not mention it. I did my last committee report that we had that scheduled, but it has not occurred yet. So
yeah, but that is that ongoing discussion that we're having with Kim Murphy from Lenawee County, the medical examiner.
To that, I did have an opportunity to have some discussion with Dr. Mano over the weekend.
I would think you did, seeing how you were probably around him 3 days straight.
Well,
somewhat.
At certain periods of time, yes.
Yeah. All right. But that's all I have, unless there's a question. Doug.
Regarding ambulance contracts, we've spoken that negotiations would begin in June or July. I wondered where we stand on that and how we proceed.
My suggestion would be that we, even not just for the ambulance or for the 911 and we also have the contracts at the sheriff's department. My suggestion would be that we look at adding a closed session to either the next meeting or that first meeting in July, so that we as a board can enter a closed session for negotiation purposes and discuss our thoughts on where we go with that negotiation this year. Because that's also vital to the budgeting process as we get ready to start budgeting for the next fiscal year.
So while the contracts don't expire until December
31st, right?
Yeah, because of the budget process, we need to do this early so that because the budget process actually begins in June. The letter gets sent early.
Yeah, generally we send that out in July.
Okay.
But right, just.
So am I hearing that you want to discuss the ambulance negotiation?
No, not ambulance, but the 911, and because the ambulance is not collective bargaining, but get into the collective bargaining contracts.
Okay. You want to do that next meeting or the following meeting?
I'm not sure what's all on the next meeting agenda.
Oh, well, just the standing order I know is Lifeways and Health Department.
So those are just, well, Lifeways would be a quarterly report and the Health Department would be the annual report. But I guess the bigger question is can Derek have the information ready, to assist us in that process of what Brad and I are going to be negotiating as far as with those 4 unions? Have a talk with him and let me know. I mean, either next meeting or that July 8th meeting, we need to do it. But back to the ambulance discussion. Personally, Brad and I are going to be busy with the 4 unions. I'm open to suggestions on who needs to work with the ambulance committee as it is, because last time around it was whom? It was you and who else?
It was me and Brad. And I'm more than agreeable to, since how 4 of those agencies that we contract with cover my district.
Well,
to be
Well,
part
maybe
of
the
that.
budget committee is your team.
Public safety is your call.
Yeah, I mean that
or if Commissioner Collins, who is the vice chair on public safety, would be involved in that as well, because like Commissioner Benzing, Commissioner Benzing I think has 3 of those agencies in your as primary providers in your district.
Hudson serves a portion, Wright Waldron serves a portion, RU serves a portion. So Addison does not, Somerset does not.
Commissioner Collins has Somerset and RU in his district. So if you're busy, I would say you know, he's the vice chair of public safety. If he and I work on that.
Is that agreeable to everyone?
I'm fine with that. One question I do have is, you know, and this is kind of a general, is this considered a professional service contract? And if not, is it subject to competitive bidding per our bidding policy? I know in the past how we treated it. I'm just saying.
Our ambulance agency's licensed.
Yes.
I believe right there, you know, it is a professional service that they are providing. Yeah. Many of the other, you know, we do go out for bid for our audit, which is a professional service as well. We've had bids come in on the architectural work at 25 Care Drive. Those are licensed individuals, still professional service, but we went out for bid for it.
You know, and the reason why I raise the point is we have a rather unique situation in that we are buying a service for the county, but the way that we operate, we are allowing the individual units of government to pick the service provider. And so, you know, to that, are we, you know, serving the best interest collectively of the county by not creating an RFP and having a bidding process for it? And I don't know the answer. I just wanted to raise that question because we are really unique in the way that we do things. So we have multiple agencies, multiple governmental units. You can look to neighboring Lenawee County. They don't fund ambulance services on a countywide basis. They fund it on an individual unit basis, and those individual units then contract for those services. Branch County has a single agency, but they fund it from the county, and the county has a contract with that single agency. Jackson County has a single agency, and there is no funding from the county to that single agency in Jackson County. So we are a little bit unique in the way that we do that, and so as part of that process, because one of the things that I have heard the ambulance providers say is that the thought was to individually do those contracts rather than collectively do those contracts. And so consequently, do we want to create an RFP and have those individually bid those?
In regards to that, and specifically Lenawee County, you said the local units there fund those agencies locally as opposed to countywide. I would say some of those agencies that we have within Hillsdale County, some of those local units of government have not gone to their voters for a funding mechanism to fund those ambulance agencies because the County Board of Commissioners many years ago went with a countywide millage at the request of the ambulance agencies that service the county to provide that service to the residents of Hillsdale County. Now, if we didn't do that, then that would leave that up to the local units to look at that mechanism to fund the ambulance agencies themselves. But we have taken that role here at the county that at the request of the agencies, we put the millage on the ballot. We're levying that millage. I don't know if we need to go out and do an open RFP, but just work out fair contracts with each of those agencies that provide service to the residents of Hillsdale County.
The RFP, though, might be the best and fairest way to answer the question in terms of writing those contracts. It may even change the geographic makeup of some of the service with an RFP.
I don't think RFPs are a bad idea, but then again, we've never done it. I mean, as long as I've been here, we've never done RFPs.
But again,
we've done these contracts, and we've worked towards trying to have uniform contracts so you don't have 5 different ones.
And if memory serves me right, for the most part, we have whatever the ambulance agencies have presented to the Board of Commissioners as to their recommendation for the distribution of those funds is what the Board of Commissioners have adopted for payment of those funds back out to the local ambulance agencies.
Yes. It's usually been a recommendation from them as to the distribution formula. And
I believe even what we're distributing now was still based off of, you know, it's a percentage that they came up with that based on the taxable value of each local unit on their percentage of coverage area, that percentage of the tax revenue gets refunded back to those local agencies.
Well, it's not the percentage, it's the actual dollars collected.
Well, it's not the actual dollars collected, Commissioner, because of the TIFA, DDA, LDFA.
Understood, but collectively, it's the dollars that are collected within that unit.
Correct.
And the driving force behind that is because.
Well, again, I'm going to make sure not the dollars collected in that unit, because the dollars collected in Wright Township are reduced by the TIFA dollars that are collected in the city of Hillsdale. The units collected in Somerset Township are reduced by the TIFA dollars that are collected in the city of Hillsdale, or the city of Reading, or the LDFA in the city of Jonesville, or the TIFA in the city of Litchfield. Those impact all of the dollars by about 1.5%. And so the dollars that are collected from those other townships that don't, or cities that, municipalities that don't have that tax capture are reduced by about 1.5% in the payment back to the local agencies.
However, that's the way countywide taxes work. And so if you have a countywide tax for a countywide service, you have those reductions that are applied collectively across all the units. And it would be no different than that we collect for operations for the senior center, which is a single entity that receives it. It would be no difference than medical care facility operating. At some units there is a reduction due to TIFAs, other units there are not. Now, I realize that we're not returning those dollars back to those individual units. But the idea is that we collectively have a countywide ambulance service, not individual ambulance services. We have areas that they agree is a primary service area, but we have a countywide ambulance system. That's what the voters are buying.
so you point out the service area, which I think we're all familiar with the different service areas that the different ambulance providers cover. Would that create a challenge as far as an RFP? So I'm just trying to think of how. You go ahead, Doug.
So I would think that the RFP, part of their request would include the area that they're going to provide. Mm-hmm. And it could change some of those lines as a matter of fact, which for them would be their proposal.
Okay. Well, I'm just...
My thought.
Right. I mean,
and that would, to me, be part of the important part of the process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because some of that's in question, actually.
So what's... I'm back to, I'm wondering, this RFP idea has been brought up. What is the flavor? I mean, does the board want to pursue that, or do you want to just stay with the contractual type?
Well, as described by Commissioner Leininger, that we use a RFP in a variety of professional services across the board.
Right.
That as I go through the thought process of how it can be better for the service to the county and more efficient in many ways that I can think of for the provider themselves to apply, and request, their proposal. I think that would be the good way to proceed.
So then the next question is who's going to put together this RFP? Because the language of that would have to be pretty clear, I would think.
Well,
does the Public Safety Committee want to work on that?
Pardon me?
Public Safety Committee
I
want to work on it?
think we've assigned who's going to do the contracts already. So
I understand
that.
that.
Would be, I would believe, who would be doing that.
That committee would work on that? Okay. I'm just trying to make sure everybody's clear on. So,
Commissioner, do you know when is the next ambulance association meeting?
I don't believe they have one scheduled at this point.
I'm just going to guess that won't be well received by some of those ambulance agencies.
Well, it might be well for the two of you to reach out to them to see when the next meeting is and then approach that subject. So we'll eagerly await the report on that. All right. Anything else before we wrap this up? We're back to public comment then. Would anyone want? Please, your name.
Hi, my name is Linda Brown. I live in Jonesville. I'm here to express a concern, but also with a suggestion. I'm not just here to complain. I'm here with an idea, and I'm not even sure I'm in the right spot. So if I'm not, my apologies, and I also apologize for my dress. But when you hear the subject, I think you give me some grace on that. I'm here to talk about the countywide Parks and Recs situation, which we don't have. We have a bike trail that goes nowhere. So if you want to ride bikes anywhere, like I just joined a little biking group and we drove to Concord and we biked from the Concord Trail and then we spent our restaurant dollars in Concord. I just recently drove through Stockbridge, which is no bigger than Jonesville or Hillsdale, and they are connected to a fantastic trail, and it was just popping with people. Their biking area. So so not only does our bike trail go nowhere, it's also really bumpy, which is bad for families with strollers and the bicycles. We have no public pool in the county anywhere. We have no public pickleball or tennis courts other than McCourty Park that are really designed for, we have like the Hillsdale High School has their courts for the tennis courts, but we have no public pickleball courts anymore. I think there's a couple in the works, but we really don't have them yet. And the one in McCourty Park is a plastic surface that's really kind of dangerous for pickleball playing. It's plastic and it has little knobs, so when you're playing, your feet can get stuck on the knobs, and it's actually kind of dangerous. The high school kids don't seem to mind playing on that basketball court, but the other court is really kind of dangerous. So, and so when the one gentleman here from the Southwest Michigan Works said that we have 37% of our people who live here leave the county or they drive more than half an hour, which tells me that there's people who value living here. But maybe we could provide more value in the county and draw more people who live here, which is more tax dollars. So speaking of tax dollars, how are you going to pay for all this, right? So here's the suggestion. I vacation in Pinellas County, Florida. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it. It's Tampa, St. Pete area, Clearwater, Dunedin, all that. I don't know how long ago, but many, many years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, in the county, they voted for what they call a pennies for Pinellas tax. They voted, and nobody likes taxes, I know, and you guys just please don't shut the idea right down until you just start thinking about it. They did a 1% sales tax throughout the county, and that they call it pennies for Pinellas, and the primary focus of it was to improve their Parks and Rec. So they built a bike path that goes from
Tampa St. or from the St. Pete Beach area, and you can ride all the way in through like Largo and then up to Clearwater and Dunedin, and it goes through many communities, taking those dollars. People can ride and walk up and down. And then they've also, close to some of those trails, they've also built some pickleball courts. They've built some fishing ponds. In their county parks, they've built nice walkways, so nice wide walkways in their county parks. So, we have part of our path goes through Bobby's, but I think we all know that there's a bit of a camping problem there. So maybe some of the brush, maybe some money could be spent to keep the brush back. Anyway, so those are just some things. So this Pennies for Pinellas, it's run they collect the 1% from everybody, every state. So we have people come into our county on their lakes, and they pay their property taxes, but they also spend money. That would be a way to catch, at the party store here and there, a 1%. At the gas pump, 1%, where they're putting gas in their boats, another 1%. So there's a way to capture some revenue for that. The politicians down there don't get to decide how to deal with the money. There's a citizens commission that decides and prioritizes how the money is spent. And they think about each community. So we have, communities, and I'm thinking of, if we could get a bike trail that would connect, maybe go up Concord Road and connect with the Concord Trail, then that connects to Jackson, which connects to Stockbridge, which connects to Pinckney. We could be a destination. People could ride bikes to here and come and spend their dollars here at our restaurants instead of going to other communities. And other things besides once they did their Parks and Rec thing, then they also looked at other community needs, and I believe they did a tiny house community for people because their employees can't afford housing down there. It's a big, expensive area, so they built some housing for their employees. And I was just listening to the worker people saying that we have a transportation problem in our community. Maybe there could be used like a little. We have the dial ride, but maybe just a little van circuit that goes at certain times around the community to help people get to their jobs. If it's not a big bus, but just some vans. The focus, I think, should be on Parks and Rec, but there's also opportunities for, if there's other little projects that could be funded that would help the Hillsdale, the whole community. Anyway, so that's an idea. I hope just because the word tax is involved, people won't immediately close down. It's a beautiful system that they have down there, and they have really improved their park system. I don't know if it would hold up here because of the winters, but they have those little, along their trail, they have occasional places where they have the little body weight exercise equipment. It's outdoor exercise equipment, and you sit down so you can ride your bike, stop at one of the parks, get a workout in using their body weight equipment. You can ride your bike, take your fishing poles, go fishing and things like that. It's fabulous, and it's something that an idea that could bring value to our community. So we don't have to go out and spend our money. Right now, again, no pickleball. We play at the college that's where I came from. I just came from playing pickleball. But we're allowed to play there at their, I'm not coming up with the word, at their pleasure. If they change their mind, we don't get to play there anymore. And some people are already going to Coldwater to play in their courts. So, again, if I'm in the wrong place, I apologize. I didn't know who to come to with this idea. So I'm throwing it out there, and we'll see maybe what would happen down the road. And happy to volunteer to help, not just say, here's a problem, go solve it. I'm in line to help if there's ever a need to help.
Go ahead, Doug. I see.
Do you have a contact number?
For
you?
Is this
something? Why don't you get with her? Stay around.
I would like to talk to you after the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait for a couple. Yeah, we'll wrap up here.
If that's public, I don't want to put my...
Yep. Nope, I don't blame you.
Just hang around for a couple minutes. We're wrapping up.
But it doesn't...
They're doing a new park in Hillsdale. I just heard at the City of Hillsdale meeting online. And that's a two or three phase project, but it sounds like they're having some of the things you're requesting.
Okay.
It's a CrossFit park.
It's across from...
It's a CrossFit park.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
So,
nice. Okay. But again, that's relying on somebody on charity dollars or philanthropic organizations where we could come and have a plan for our own community that could draw people in to live here and draw some tourist dollars here.
Okay. Thank you. Bob?
I'm getting up.
We're still in public comment.
Yes, I can see it. I just got done playing tennis this morning, and it was pretty rough on me.
Did the dog win?
Actually, yeah. This here is Otis, just to let you all know. Do not say that obvious word of size, because he'll attack.
He's your support dog.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, what do you got for us today, Bob?
Thank you. You know, when they talked about the courthouse and the wood that was put in there, you know, it's a delicate thing. If you look at what a violin is made of and how they've actually cured that wood, there's another ways to see how it could actually resonate. I don't know what the oak has in its density. I think snake wood is a little bit in difference, but I think the challenge would be not putting sound walls in, but possibly looking at that. The other was, I was looking at going into the circuit courthouse, and for the millions that have been spent on that, I honestly got to let you all know, from the backside, not in the front of the courthouse, but in the backside, most people are entering. Go and look at the step cracks. Now you talk about this expansion joint stuff, the mortar. There's no mortar in it. I mean, I'm going all the way from the building. Not everything, but there's gaps in that size. That's water that can get in there in this winter. Now there's expansion joint stuff that I invested in looking into down here in Ohio, and we had a sort of a demonstration. So we had a joint set up and cut out, put back rod in it, then took this joint compound, and it was in a 2.5 gallon bucket, and we were able to get that in there, and it does expand. It expands with the brick instead of it possibly, getting a step, a step break in block. But anyway, I was looking at that and thought maybe it would be a little funny to look at. I do want to say that I think it is a conflict, though, of on another subject is with Ned Wheeler. I believe that we have a conflict of interest. I believe on the GIS and registration of deeds. That's pretty much what I've been trying to dig out. Thank you very much. If there's something that would arise, of course, I'm sure you guys would put it out there on the news. Devastated as it is, this ICE deal that's going on, and we all need to look at that. I pay attention to it. I pay attention to a lady that's down there in Texas. She calls, and she does go down there, and we're looking at the immigrants. So I'm in favor of immigrants. I'm not in favor of illegal immigrants. Anyway, you guys have a great day.
Thank you, Bob. Any other public comment? Hearing none. Additional business, Doug?
Okay. Yes. We are in the signature petition phase of the process to issue the bond. If you are for a county bond or against a Hillsdale County bond for a new mental health facility, sign the petition to place on the ballot, because it's better to have a vote of the people rather than commissioners deciding.
Additional business, Brad? Brent?
In answer to Commissioner Engel's last comment, he's completely wrong in that regard. Telling somebody if you're for this bond, sign the petition to put it on the ballot. If we hold that at a special election, that'll cost the county $100,000. That's fiscally irresponsible for any commissioner to say that to any citizen of the county. That if you're for this, sign the petition so you can vote for it, because that's a fiscal irresponsible action.
Anything else?
Nope.
Kevin? Nothing. We had Shamar here this morning, and I know Sue Smith was in attendance. Just so everybody knows, because I checked with Abe, we do have Sue on the 22nd of July, so she is on the schedule. because actually I was thinking about letting her comment since she's basically part of that Michigan Works picture. But since she's on the agenda forthcoming, she'll have her own time. But that's all I have, gentlemen. We are adjourned.